Everyone. Hope all of you are doing good. My name is Prabhat and welcome to my channel. So in this tutorial, I'm going to talk about retrieving data from Salesforce and showing it to LWC page. So there are many ways to retrieve the data from the Salesforce, and one of the ways which I have already covered in my previous video, that is wire services. In this video we are going to cover in a different way, like when you click on a button, it is going to retrieve the data from Salesforce and it is going to show on LWC page. In wire services, it retrieves the data when application gets loaded, but now we have different requirement. We don't want to load the data when your Lightning Web Component page is loading. Rather, we want to retrieve the data when you click on button. So I'm going to show you how can you actually retrieve the data when user clicks on the button. So for that, we are going to retrieve the data from contact and we are going to show it on LWC page. So let's begin. So the first step is to create Apex class. So to create an Apex class, we can do Ctrl+Shift+P and select the first option, create Apex class. You can name the Apex class whatever name you want to give. So I'll just name contact. I'll name it contact finder. So now we have Apex class. I'll just remove this constructor. So we have an Apex class named contact finder. So what we are going to do in this contact finder class, we are going to create a method which is going to return 10 contacts. Okay, so let's create aura enabled. So whenever a method is annotated with the aura enabled, it means it is reference to LWC class or aura component. So if we want to reference any method in Salesforce in LWC component or LWC page, we need to annotate with the aura enabled. So I have just written the aura enabled. Now I'm going to name my method name. This is dummy name which is generated by VS Code. So I'll name it contact. Let me name it get contact list. I'll make it capital. Okay, and this is going to return the list of contact. List contact. I'll save it and I'm going to write a simple query, return. So let's write select ID, name, title, phone, email. So these are the contacts fields from contact and I'll limit it to 10. So what this method is going to do, it is going to return only 10 contacts, not all the contacts. I want to show only 10 contacts. I'll save it and I'll just push it to the Salesforce. Great. So now we are done with our Apex class. Now next step is to create a LWC component. So for that same approach, create Lightning Web Component and I'll name it show contact list. So if you know the basic of LWC, whenever you create a LWC component, you will have three major files. One is the HTML file, then you have a XML file, and then you have contact list JS file. Okay, so I'll go to the JS file, I'll go to the HTML file and I'll start writing some LWC tags. So the first one I'm going to use lightning card, and I'll just to define the title, and I'll name it load contact, and also I'm going to define the icon, and that icon would be the custom icon, so custom 63, and I'll just close the bracket. Once you are done with your lightning item, I'm going to define one div, and on that div I'm going to define some SLDS classes, so to provide some margin around the content of this page. So I'll just write quickly. So what it is going to do, this aim denotes margin, and around medium is medium margin around the contents. Okay, so now I'm going to define the buttons. So the button, when you click on that button, it is going to load the contact, right? So lightning button, these are the tags. You can just go to the official website of Lightning or Salesforce. You can get the information what are the things which you can achieve by using these tags. So I'll just name it load contacts, the label, the button label, and on click, what we are going to do on click. So on click we are going to call a JavaScript method. So now we have a lightning button. So we are done with the lightning button. So whenever we click on the lightning button, it is going to call our Apex class. So I'll just push it to Salesforce just to see if there is no errors. Great. Now I'll move to our JavaScript class, and the first thing you want to do is importing your Apex class. So get contact lists from Salesforce Apex, and then I'll just move to the Apex class name, and then Apex method name. It's very simple, isn't it? So you just have to import that class which you just created so that you can retrieve the data on your LWC page. Great. Now what to do? So the first thing we need to do is create a method called handle load, basically JavaScript method. This is how you create it, and here what we want to do, we want to retrieve the contact list when the button is clicked. Simple. So this is how you can, so I define catch, in the catch I'll just console it if there is any error. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, so whatever method you have imported, you can just reference here, and then whatever data is going to return, it is going to store in this result. So for time being, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just console it, console.log, and then result, just to see if the data is going to result. So I'll do this contact list, and then JSON dot stringify. This is going to, so what it is going to do, the JSON dot stringify is going to make your object or convert your JavaScript object in a string, so that you can see easily the result in the page. So if I go to the console and I'll just hit the load contacts button, and I just hit the load contact button, if you see in the console log, it is showing the contacts which we are retrieving here. Okay, so now our next task is to show it on LWC component. So how can you show it? So we are going to see this. Okay, the first thing we are going to do, we are going to define a variable, and that is contacts. So this variable is going to store all the contact list. So I'll just reference it for this contacts equal to result. So if you see at line number 14, here we are storing the value which we are returning from Salesforce to contacts variable. So now we have value in this contacts. Now what we want to do, we want to reference it, or maybe we can include in our HTML file to show it to the user. Okay, so as we are returning the 10 contacts, it's not the one contact, so it is in the format of array. So if it is in a format of array, we need to loop through it. So in LWC, how you loop it, I'll just show you. So the first thing we are going to do, we are going to check if the contact has any data, then only loop. So how to check it? So we'll write template tag, and then if true. So what is going here? So we are checking if that contacts has or contacts have any data. So if we have data in the contacts, here we are checking, then we are going to loop through the contact and print the name of the contact. Okay, so let's create one more template iterator, and here we are going to loop. So to loop it, we are just going to write for each contacts, and then we are going to define a variable. So to define a variable, you can just write for item and then your variable name. I have not defined the variable name, I'll just define it con. Con means contact. Okay, so now let's print some of the contact name. I'll define the key. So key is basically any unique identifier. So for me it is con.id, and here we are going to print name. So these would be inside the curly braces. Okay, So now we have reference the contacts in the HTML file. Now I'll just save it by pressing Ctrl and S, and I'll push it to the source org. I'll go back to our LWC page. So now when I click on load contacts, it is going to show all the 10 contacts which we are retrieving here. So there is one more extra curly braces. I'm just going to fix it. This one is showing here. I'll push it again. And just refresh it. And just load contact. So you can see the first 10 contacts is showing here. So this is how you can create a function or create a method in LWC component where whenever you click on a button, you can retrieve the data from